What I have here is a paper considered a cornerstone of petroleum engineering. It is a paper by William McCain, and it was published by the SPE in 1991. Now, this paper presents a detailed study on the state of the art of PVT correlations. What McCain did was to analyze hundreds of reservoir fluid studies with samples from all over the world and compare all available PVT correlations in the petroleum engineering literature. So what he did was to summarize the results in this paper and indicated what the best correlations are for each fluid. So I have coded these best correlations as Excel functions using VBA, which essentially allows users to access these correlations as simple user-defined functions in any Excel workbook. So let me bring this VBA project here. And what you can see is I have these three modules: oil, gas, and water. And in each of these modules, I have coded up all the correlations pertaining to each fluid as they appear on the paper itself. Okay. Now, if we have a look as an example at one of these correlations, for example, solution GOR at bubble point RSB, this is an oil correlation. So if we go back to that VBA project, we go to the oil module, I can see that at the bottom here, I have that correlation RSB, which as described in the paper contains the initial GOR and an RST term, which is a correction for the stock tank vent gas. Okay, so let's have a look at the correlation. You can see on the paper itself is a logarithmic expression, and that RST, let me bring the other one and let me put it on top so we can see them side by side. So pay attention to the RST term here is a logarithmic expression. Therefore, if I do 10 to the power of, I end up with RST being, as I have in the function, 10 to the power of, and then this long expression, which is made up of these few terms. So A1, you can see there is on the paper 0.3818, exactly what I have there in the VBA function. Then the second term, A2, minus 5.506, which is what I have there, etc. So if you take the time to inspect all these correlations one by one and compare side by side what's on the paper and what's in here in each of these modules, you will realize that I have coded these functions exactly as they appear on this paper that summarizes all these best correlations. Now, I can tell you that I have created this many, many years ago, and this has gone through various rounds of peer reviews and checks and stuff, so I can assure you that these are correct. There are no errors in this product. And the beauty of this setup is that you don't need to access this VBA at all to be able to use these functions in any Excel workbook. So let me show you how that actually works. So if we go, let me bring this. This is an empty Excel file. It has absolutely nothing on it. And let's say that we want to calculate the Z compressibility factor for a certain gas. Okay, but what I have done as well is to create this summary table that shows you the name of all the functions that I have coded up, the correlation that each function invokes, a bit of a descriptive phrasing for each correlation, and then all the arguments that each function takes and the units. Now, initially, you might have this open side by side so you can actually quickly refer to the function being used and the units that each argument takes, but after a while you will get pretty used to all of these, and you can notice that this is pretty much a set of field units. So you have Fahrenheit for temperatures and then all field units, barrels, cubic feet, etc. Okay, so if we go down to the gas block section here in red, we can see that the Z function uses the whole Yarbrough correlation with the gas compressibility factor, and it takes as arguments the pressure in PSI, the temperature in degrees Fahrenheit, and the gas specific gravity. So if we go to that empty file again, we know that we need as arguments the pressure, let's say it's 3500 psi, we need the temperature, let's say is 150 degrees Fahrenheit, and let's say that the gas specific gravity is 0.6. So now I know that I can calculate the Z correlation factor using that Z function that I coded up. How do we do this? once you have this Excel add-in loaded in your system, you can access these functions from any Excel workbook. And the way to do that is as you would do with any other Excel formula. That's the beauty of it. So you go to formulas and you just go insert function. And as long as you have here the category user defined, you will be offered all the functions that have been coded in that Excel add-in. So we go to the Z function, and here you go. It brings up this window, and the arguments that the function needs are pressure, temperature, and specific gravity. Pressure, you can just type in directly the number, or you can reference the cell as you would with any other Excel formula. Temperature, we're going to call that cell, and specific gravity is going to be that. You go, OK. There you go. We have just calculated the Z compressibility factor using the Hall-Yarbrough correlation. The way we did that is using an Excel user-defined function, which is underpinned by a piece of code in VBA, which has that Hall-Yarbrough correlation implemented in it. So you don't have to bother with that yourself. You can just call that Excel function from anywhere in any Excel workbook. Because this function references these cells, this is live. So if I update that pressure to a 4000 value, you will see that the Z value will update. There you go. In fact, for the sake of showing this a little bit further, let's build ourselves a pressure range. Let's start at 500. Let's increase by 250. Oh, sorry. So let's do plus 250, and let's cover a range down to, let's do it down to 5,000. And let's calculate the Z factor, but also let's calculate the BG factor now. And also let's do the expansion factor, which is 1 over BG, right? So Z function again, let's call that Z function again. There we go. We're going to now call for the pressure in that column. The temperature is going to be that one. I'm going to hit the F4 keystroke to make that a fixed reference. And the GG, I can call that cell, but for the sake of showing you the example, you can just type in as well, 0.6. Okay, I'm not going to change that at all, so I'm going to just type in 0.6, and then I'm going to copy that down. If I double click there, you can see it calls that pressure and that temperature and the 0.6, which is a number. Then BG, now I'm going to call for the BG function, which is there. And this one takes as arguments the pressure in that column, the temperature again with the F4 keystroke to fix it, and the Z, which we just calculated in the preceding column. So now I have the BG, and I know that the expansion factor is 1 over BG. So I'm going to copy that down, and there we go. So we can do now is to plot the expansion factor as a function of pressure. Let's select that one, or let's just shift that to the side. You can see the Z factor or the BG factor. There you go. I hope you find this useful, and do get in touch if you run into any issues. Enjoy.